Please don't get mad at me, but if you have ever felt like people just aren't following your blog, maybe other than your mother, then I've got 12 different reasons why that might be happening. So in this video, I'm gonna talk about why no one's following your blog. Hey, really quick before we jump into this video, I wanted to let you know that my blogging course, Blogging to Win, is officially open for the summer 2020 enrollment period. We have this course open for a couple of weeks to new students. So if you are looking for a blogging course that is one, affordable, and two, can really help you build the foundation for a profitable blogging business, then head on over to bloggingtowin.com before this enrollment period closes. Once we close the doors, we won't reopen them again until the fall, so you don't want to miss your chance. All right, back to the video. The first reason no one may be following your blog is because you write about too many different things. So when somebody lands on your website, they have to quickly identify you as someone who is an expert in a certain field. So if you write about, mommyhood and travel and food and exercise, those are too many different topics. It's not that you're not good at writing about those things. I bet that you're probably really great at writing about them and you would be good going in any different direction. However, if you've been blogging less than 2 years, then you have thousands upon thousands of bloggers who have been blogging for 10 years already marching ahead of you. So they already have a bit of a leg up and the competition for you is really steep. So in order for you to really stand out, you have got to make sure that you choose one specific niche that you write about. The second reason is that perhaps the niche that you've chosen just isn't specific enough. So again, going back to the example of how, you're a newer blogger coming onto the scene of people who've been blogging for a decade, they already have that established audience. They have the Google juice to, make sure that their blog posts show up in results. And so they already have this huge following that they can harness to really see all of their different blog posts. Now, the important thing for you is to make sure that you choose a very specific niche. So you can't just be a mommy blogger anymore. You've got to be more specific than that because, let's be honest, there are a ton of mommy bloggers out there. So what is unique about you and what specifically do you write about? Choose a niche within a niche. So don't just be a mommy blogger, be a homeschooling mommy blogger or a special needs mommy blogger or a, breastfeeding mommy blogger or something like that. You have to choose a very specific category underneath your niche in order to really give yourself a leg up. If you don't want to do this, that's fine, but it can be harder for your blog to get traction if you aren't identifying and establishing yourself as an authority in a very specific area. So if you need some help with identifying what specific type of niche you want to go into, I actually have a list of over 160 different blog niche ideas, and they're very specific. You won't find just mommy blogger on that list there. You're gonna find something or different categories within mommy blogger to kind of help you choose something more specific. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave it linked down below. The third reason is that your content isn't really teaching anyone anything in particular. So I don't like to look at my blogging business as me just creating videos and blog posts. I look at every single piece of content as an opportunity for me to teach something or to answer a specific question. So every time somebody reads a blog post or watches one of your videos, they should leave feeling like they learned something or they were inspired by something. The fourth reason could be that maybe your content isn't that great. And hey, when we all start out, I'll be honest with you, all of our content stinks. We don't know what the heck we're doing. So it's okay if your content stinks right now, but you've got to keep practicing and practicing until you figure out how to write the best blog posts or create the best videos. Make sure that every single blog post, every single video teaches something, inspires something. Make sure that you're very clear and concise in the way that you teach something. Make sure that you're very organized, that you kind of outline what it is you're gonna say. Here's what I'm gonna say in the beginning as an introduction. Here's step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here's what I'll say in a conclusion. I mean, when you have an outline like that, it's very specific, it's very easy to understand, and they can consume that information in little bite-sized pieces, which makes it easy for them. So just keep practicing on your content. If you're creating videos, keep filming until you feel you finally have gotten it right. Some of my beginner videos, please don't go watch them because they're so cringe-worthy. It's like, I didn't even know what the heck I was doing. But I had to start somewhere, and you just have to keep practicing writing blog posts and creating videos until you finally get it. The fifth reason could be that when people land on your website, you look more like a hobby blogger than you do like a business. And so the thing about this is you really want to make sure that you're very organized and that all of your content works together. So as somebody who talks about running a blogging business, it would be a bad decision for me to toss up like a freebie or a product that's all about eating on the paleo diet. Number one, for the obvious reason, I don't know how to do that. So that would be a bad choice for me. But for the main reason, that doesn't have anything to do with running a blogging business. So I have no business throwing up a paleo product when that's not really on brand for me. So when you put together your website, really make sure that everything coordinates and clicks and makes sense. You don't want to write about knitting and then create a food blogger product. That doesn't make sense. They have nothing to do with each other. And so it makes it look like you're probably more like a hobby blogger than you are a blogging business owner. Make sure you take the business approach to ensure that everything within your blogging business is really working together and giving you a more professional vibe online. The sixth reason could be that you're not very consistent. Now, hey, I'm a stay-at-home mom or a work-at-home mom, and so I 1,000% understand that there's just no such thing as like a normal schedule every single day unless you have like a nanny or you have some help around you. But the thing here is that you can't post and then take a sabbatical for like 8 months. It's just not very consistent. So you want to try as much as you possibly can to be fairly consistent with as often as you publish content or send out emails to your email subscribers. The seventh reason could be that you're not using very good keywords. Now, by keywords, I mean if you are using Google's keyword planner and you are trying to find which keywords to use, your inclination might be to pick up the ones that have really high search volume. People are looking for this like 1 million times a month. But on the flip side of that, you have to look at the competition. So is the competition really high? That may be a good keyword, but is every other blogger under the planet using that one as well? So that may not be a good keyword for you to use. Instead, a savvier approach would be to find keywords that are maybe on the lower end of the volume number, but also have low competition. Those are the keywords that you might want to use. That way you can try to get that first page spot when it comes to ranking in Google. The eighth reason could be, I'm sorry, but you're not using video in your blogging business. How people get so irritated when I talk about this because they're like, I want to be a blogger. I don't want to be a YouTuber. I don't want you to be a YouTuber either. I want you to run a blogging business. So if you want to run a blogging business, you got to be savvy with the tools that you use to really harness the power of lifting and taking off with your platform. So you have to think of it this way. Video is really important for two main reasons in particular. Number one, it humanizes your brand. So you're gonna have a much easier time remembering Allison if you hear me talking and you see my hand gestures and you're like, she's, mildly funny. But if you read a blog post that I've written and you just saw my words, but you couldn't even hear like the inflections in my voice, it's just kind of harder to remember who I am. So if you can see somebody talking on camera, it's way easier to kind of connect with them as a human and look at them as, yes, a business, but something that's a little more personal, something that you can connect to. Now, the second reason video is so important is because I use video kind of like I use Google. So when I write a blog post, I'm hoping that they show up in Google search results. when I create a video, I'm hoping that it shows up in YouTube search results. So I don't think that YouTube and Google are the same thing by any means or any stretch of the imagination, but I kind of use them in very similar ways. So people will oftentimes find my website because they did a search and then they saw my video pop up in the Google search results. So then they go to the video and then they realize I have a website, and so they find their way back to my website. So I use videos as a chance to kind of harness the power of the YouTube platform that is sometimes used like a search engine for many, many people. The ninth reason could be that your blog posts are not very easy to read. Textbooks are boring, at least to me. And guys, I'm a huge nerd, so if I find textbooks boring, then I can guarantee that all the cool people out there, they're gonna find them very boring as well. So the important thing to keep in mind when you're writing your blog posts is break them up. Don't have these like long 10-sentence paragraphs. It's not the proper way, I know, and your English teacher from high school is probably cringing, but that's just not the best way to write a blog post if you really want people to come back for more and to enjoy their time while they consume your information. When you break things up and you have tons of bullet points, you keep your paragraphs fairly short, you have videos, you have, pictures in there. Well, now the blog post is broken up, and so it's a lot softer on the eyes and it's easier to read through. The 10th reason people may not be following your blog is your site kind of stinks. So there are a couple of things that can go into creating a really awful website. The first could be speed. If it takes really, really, really long for your site to load, that's a total bummer. And honestly, people are gonna get bored. If they don't know who you are, they're not gonna wait around for your site to finally load. So you want to try to keep things running as fast as possible. The second thing could be that it's just hard to navigate. Sometimes I'll land on a website and it looks stunning. The design is just gorgeous. But man, I can't find what I'm looking for to save my life. And I never go back to that website because it's hard to navigate. Make sure that you have a search bar somewhere. Make sure that you have the categories kind of lined out for them to easily get through. Make sure you have different links, that you're utilizing the menu. Make sure that you've got your blog posts kind of sorted out by sub categories. That way, if they are looking for something specific underneath your niche, then they can easily find it. You want to keep things as easy to navigate as possible. The 11th reason could be that you're not focusing on the small following that you already have. So this is a mistake that I sometimes see happen to some of my students or my followers, and it is that they're so focused on hitting that big number of followers that they kind of neglect the people that are already kind of following them. And when you feel like you're not really valued because you're just one of 100 instead of one of a million, you're less likely to come back because you don't want to become a fan of someone who's so focused on the final money figure or who's so focused on that final number of subscribers or whatever it is, whatever stat they're looking for. So you want to make sure that even if you have 10 people following you and none of them are actually related to you, that you value those 10 people, that you email them because they're important subscribers. Your first email subscriber that's not your mom is just as important as your 10,000th subscriber. So keep that in mind and really value the people that you already have following you. The 12th and last reason that people might not be following you is because maybe you're not promoting on the right channels for your particular audience. So there are a lot of different ways that we can promote our blog posts nowadays. There's Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest, and TikTok, and I could go on and on and on. But the important thing is you've got to become really good at just a few of those things. There's no need for you to become an expert at all of them. In fact, I definitely don't recommend you try to do that because you'll just be spreading yourself too thin. So what I like to do, like my personal preference, is I focus on just a few main things. I'll focus on YouTube, I'll focus on Pinterest, and I'll focus on Google. I use Google for search engine results for my blog posts. I use YouTube for my videos, which eventually lead back to my website. And then I use Pinterest, which will lead to videos or blog posts. It just depends. And then those are just the main things that I focus on because those channels work really well for me. It's got the audience that I'm targeting, so I know that I'm not putting content and effort into a platform where my audience isn't even really hanging out. And they're very effective. So instead of focusing on just building raving fans on YouTube and Pinterest, they give me the opportunity, because you can click different links and I can include links back to my website and I can talk about how you can find stuff back at my website. That gives me the opportunity to kind of lead them back to my website. That way I'm not just building the platform on that social media platform, or I'm not just building a huge list of followers on that social media platform. I want to be able to bring them back to my website and get them on my email list. I know this was a long video, but I hope you found it helpful. I wanted to just make a list of some of the things that I see that could be tweaked or changed if people feel like they're just not getting a lot of followers on their website. Leave a comment down below if one of these really resonated with you and you just had that aha moment where you're like, wow, that is what I've been doing. I'm so glad she mentioned it. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. As always, I'm Allison Lindstrom, and I will see you next time.